Hello, everybody, and welcome to a tabletop review brought to you by me, Tabletop Junkie. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I know I am 32 minutes. Wait, is it 32 or 22? 22 minutes late because I was supposed to start at 2:30. Here's the funny thing: is I thought I hit the select button, and I could have swore I hit select broadcast and begin streaming, and it turns out I was sitting here for 22 minutes going through this review. And I didn't even hit the button. So enjoy that for why I'm 22 minutes late. Well, hopefully I can finish this off because I did talk for 22 minutes. Starting with the book I'm reviewing, Castles and Crusades Codex Celtarum. I guess we could call it a moment that I had because I just woke up. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I woke up about almost an hour ago, and maybe I just wasn't fully awake. So let's talk about the Celtic Cartarium. This is basically the Celtic culture, which did expand from Britain, Ireland, and Wales, as well as all over Europe. This goes into basically the realm of fairy, where there's basically the fairy realm. I did get as far, before I realized that I didn't have anything going. We did go through many different pieces of information, but no one knows about that, so let's continue. So this does talk about, like every other book, the first few chapters, which is usually 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 chapters of any of these codexes, are basically the history of the culture. And then after that, we reach into chapter 4, where we start talking about the myth of the culture. And the Celtic culture did breed the myth of basically, it did bring out a good language. It is a good Celtic language, as well as, brought us the Celtic language, as well as the myths of the fairies. Was you muted again? No, I didn't start the stream again. No, I just forgot to hit the stream button. That's Troublemaker. That's my girlfriend. She is causing trouble, as always. That's why she's named that. So once we get over the first few chapters of the first history of the Celtic, which I'm not going to share all that with you guys. That's something you guys could pick up. These codexes are worth the money that you are spending. I am going to definitely give it that. The only thing I am sad about with this book is we didn't get a map of the region that it covers. Like, it doesn't have a map, like all the other maps showed, okay, this is the part of Europe or the part of the world that it covers. This is Rome. This is this. Instead of that, we didn't get a map of Europe or Ireland or Britain or Wales. We just got like, hey, this covers pretty much all of Europe, Wales. I hit my microphone. This covers pretty much Europe, Wales, and Britain and Ireland. So this does have Irish culture in it, which is sad because we actually got down to some really good magical stuff. But let's get to the next part. So the Celtic culture myths actually brought us the mythological realm of the Fae, which is known as fairy, which has its own separate myth stories and whatnot. So that's something to really look into. So the otherworldly history, which was basically which has been extrapolated from Old Irish and medieval Welsh sources, the realm of fairy, the realm of the Fae, such as elves, such as I believe nymphs were part of the Fae, giants, and then even dragons was part of the realm of the Fae. Dragons, it's like funny because when it comes to giants and dragons, it seems like every culture had their own thing on them. So makes me wonder if they really did exist. I'm just saying, just because they each have that one. So the otherworldly origin, which starts off basically the story of creation, leading down to the Faes, as well as the Dark Times. They have their own Dark Time history. So good stuff to look into. Moving on down to what types of fairies there are and how many different versions are there. Well, let me tell you something. When you get down to fairies and like a fairy as an individual, there's probably tons of combinations you can go with. Give the most fantasy RPG are semi-medieval. A lot of Troll Lord codices seem from the names at least, to be moved Roman based. Yes, that actually was, yes, Archer Cullen, that was actually stated in here that they were derived from Rome. Everything, I don't know if everything was, well, I mean, you gotta think, we didn't really migrate over this way until after Christopher Columbus, which was after, probably, we would consider medieval times. So, so going from there, hang on one second, I gotta give me something to drink. All right. Let me move closer to my mic. Sorry about that. Like I said, I talked for 22 minutes before I actually started because, well, I thought I hit the damn stream button, but I didn't. And I am still currently fighting a cold. So, all right. So, we do move into, the realm of the Fae, which had their own version of giants and dragons, like I've stated before. They also had fairies. Each fairy was different and unique. There's probably more than just a few of them, but these are like those that exist inside the Fae realm. So there is a lot of good stuff here. Chapter 5 does cover the mythological history of fairies, so I do recommend to please, if you do get this, do check that out. Let me see if I can. So yeah, the other world of fairy, yeah. I think that's the one I want because I'm trying to get down to the tables, which I don't know where those are at. Not this one. So, it does talk about when traveling to other worlds too. It gives you some ideas about how to make it to the realm of the fairy too. It's like has their own way of getting in and out of there. Something to really look into. But yep, it gets into the histories of the realm of the Fae, which we do call fairy. Fairy's just long to say. I like realm of the Fae. Who likes realm of the Fae? And apparently time also elapsed differently there. So, yeah. I did show off some artwork, so I want to show off this artwork right here because this is actually my favorite picture in the book. I think it captures the essence of what the Fae realm is supposed to be. I read the Dresden Files, so when I see this, I kind of think of that too. So, let me pull up my screen share. So, I like this one. This is, I believe chapter 5 or 6, and you have an elf, female elf, dancing with a male minotaur while she is wearing a white dress. No, this is not inappropriate. This is Troll Lord Games. They don't do stuff like that. But yeah, I know there's a lot of controversy with that, so I just wanted to point that out. So, the nature of being fairy. And this is the chapter that talks about the nature of fairies, such as creating a creating a character. It covers basic fairy weaknesses, basic fairy abilities, secret fairy weaknesses, stuff that actually you would know inside of there, as well as traits and a few other things, and as well as abilities. There is 4 separate abilities separated from. Oh, I think this one's also a nice one too. I want to share this one. I believe that is a fairy, or it is a druid and fairy. I believe humans do exist in fairy as well. It's just they are more like druid people. They definitely, if you're a human living in fairy, you're definitely a druid. That's all I'm going to say. So fairies do believe in reincarnation. Reincarnation is a big part of the myth as well. And then, going back to what I was saying, is there was different fairy abilities. So there was general fairy abilities, which are just everyone probably has them. There is special fairy abilities. And then there is fairy abilities of dark fairies, as well as the Enduans and Gwendon abilities. Which is, from my understanding, I haven't really looked into these too much yet, but there is some descriptions on that. And then you do get a fairy ability. Oh, we do get fairy ability descriptions. Let's see here. I want to see what a Raven Sister is. Which these look to be druid, wizards, and illusionist spells. And clerics. That's interesting. Oh, it doesn't tell us. I thought it did. Oh well. Please tell me the Leoncidite isn't in there. No, it's not. It is not in here. I can tell you that much. So going from there, it does give you a list of spells that most fairies will tend to have right from the get-go, such as the special fairy abilities, so on and so forth. And then and those are usually like spells associated with druid class, cleric class, and even some in wizards and some in illusionists. So enjoy those. I think that might be something to look into. All right. No, I definitely want to get into like regular, because there is like one type of spell I do want to share. I'm trying to find it, and I'm having so many freaking issues finding it. So yeah, we do get some additional spells, which that's always good. You can never have too many spells. When people say, "Oh, there's too many spells to remember from that," it's like there is no such thing as too many spells. Never. Let's see here. Chapter 7. We already covered that. Alright. So since we keep like beating Druid over the head, I can't find that one spell yet. I'm just gonna scroll down to where we see Druids. Which I don't think I made it this far. Some of these don't even oh, nope, these are it right here. Okay. I think I figured out where I was going. I'm still stuck in the current chapter I was talking about this entire time, where it tells you the difference between the fairy abilities. I want to see Night Flight. I want to see Raven Sister. Here we go, Raven Sister. All right, so this is apparently a special ability of the Gwendon. I'm going to just call it Gwendon. It's Gwiddon. I don't know how to pronounce these. So, because of the blood of Morgan, Bob, Ketha, and Mecca, certain Gwendon are born with this ability, and it carries that legacy strongly. There are 3 levels to this, and each provides a new option and gives power to the possessor of the heritage. And it says this works like a level 3. Okay, so I guess you could also have this as a regular spell too, because it says level 3 druid, so I don't understand why it would be a druid or wizard spell or a magical spell if it wasn't just a spell either. So it's like these are not spells. Supposedly, the way I understand the previous readings, in the previous pages, these are not spells. These are These are like spell-like abilities that these fairy get. So this is not working like a normal spell. What we consider would be a spell is just a regular power or ability that they can use. And there is a lot to that one. So yeah, we'll have to do that more. All right. So moving on to the next chapter. We start talking about the understanding the Celtic polytheism, because there was always more than one god. Of course, with these codices, that is pretty much all that we ever covered. So, we do have a whole section on that. Polytheism. Want to make sure that is regarding gods, multiple gods. Such big words and. The belief or worship of more than one god. Yep, I was right. All right. So there was definitely multiple gods, and we do go into that kind of discussion. Poly meaning many. Yeah, thank you there, Witch King. I appreciate the backup. Mono meaning one. Okay. Monotheism. Yeah. Let's move into my favorite part that I've been kind of dying to tell you guys, because talking about. So in this book, as well as we do get our own druidic orders and classes. Such as the Celtics actually have something called a Celtic. This book covers something called a Celtic Druid, which is like a normal Druid, only from the Celtic culture. And they actually did a full class write-up and everything. So it's like, yeah, if you guys have a different type of Druid, there's the Celtic Druid. There's even the Celtic Bard. I like those because it just gives like, if you make instead of using the general druid or general bard, if you derive a world from the Celtic culture and mythology, you could definitely put that in there, and just have like, say, yeah, this my druid and bard is different. It just allows you to create a whole nother world and immerses your feel into different cultures, and I actually do love that very, very much. And then there's even the druidic seer, which is different from the other seer. I believe they covered a seer in either the Nordic, the codex that cover the Norse culture, or the Germania culture, one of the two. I think the Germania covered actually witches. And then, of course, we have basically the secret of Druid runes. But now, generally, this would be a place for Rune Master, but Druids have their own runes, symbols, and also language. That is secret from everybody else. Now, and then, on top of the Druid special abilities that we were talking about previously, which also act as spells, and they tell us, oh, this is like a level 3 Druid spell, we get a different set of spells as well. Like, for instance, these are actually not covered under, these are covered for if this is just every other Druid. That's the way I'm taking it, because they've got spells in 2 different areas. This one is actually my favorite one. It also mentions that the Brythonic year starts in October. Yes, it does. I believe I covered that. I didn't mention that per se, but I think I covered that. I believe that is in the first few chapters. I'm not trying to give away all of the book spoilers. I'm just trying to mention what this covers and how detailed it is, because this is very good stuff. This is actually very good, very useful stuff. I have not been very, what's the word? I have not been disappointed with these books. But one of the spells I wanted to say was Morgan's Blood. I did find this. This is for a level 5 druid. So Morgan's Blood enables the druid to turn the enemy on itself as fairy blood rains down from the skies. The druid pronounces bitter and poisonous words, and everyone in the radius, equal to the experience level, which I'm assuming is like the character level. When it says experience level, it's like if you have like 5,000 experience points and you times that by 10, that goes within 50,000 feet. I think 50 feet would be more than fair, but that sounds kind of like ridiculous. Like your experience level times 10. I don't know. I have to get more insight on that one. And then who fails their save will attack each other instead. The fury of the war goddess will possess the foes and make them perceive each other as enemies during this spell's duration. Morgan is actually one of my favorite deities from Irish culture, which is basically Celtic culture, because the Celts, they're all drift, but experience level is the same as class level. Oh, okay. I just wanted out. I'm glad that was thank you for that, Witch King, because yes, so experience level is the same as class level. Okay. I just thought, why not just say class level? So, but it is what it is. So Morgan is the Irish goddess. So I do have like a thing towards that culture, because it turns out like I'm 87% Norse and Irish. I'm more Irish than anything, and actually that's something that has just been fairly recently coming out, because I've been doing my family tree, and it turns out that there was a good part of my family tree that does not have any existence in the United States whatsoever. But we won't get into that, because that does cross some lines and barriers that I have ticked some people off. This book also does cover the enchanted items of fairy, such as the dragon stones. Covers the different type of colored gemstones, and magical items and stuff like that for those. So that's true. The Tuatha aren't really gods in the traditional sense. Tuatha. That sounds like that is from the Gamers one. So, alright, so this does cover stuff like Dragonstones, Fairy Metal. Some good stuff to actually look into. This is actually a good chunk of the book. It means people. Oh, okay. It is a good chunk of the book that's something you're going to have to check into yourself, because it's like, yeah, we're not covering that. So this does actually give you some really good insight on some magical stuff and basically how you should implement them into your game. People of Dana, if I remember. Yes, and Dana, the Dana people are actually part of this culture too. I remember. I think I remember seeing that name in this early in this book. I'm sorry, everybody. I keep going towards the audience. I'm glad I got an audience today. I'm glad you guys are here. So, moving on to the rest of it. Okay, so the rest of the book does go into like stories. There is a story and mythological known as the severed head, which the modern day, it's the precursor to the modern jack-o'-lantern concept. I remember Witch King did mention, and I did forget to mention this. I believe the new year, or not the new year, the year for Celtics started in October instead of January, which is what we're kind of used to doing. So, yeah. So it's like the time of the harvest was like a moment of refreshing. And renewal. I think that's why they believe in reincarnation so much. Well, the Brythonic Celts. Okay. Well, there is something basically about that, because when you go with the modern day jack-o'-lantern concept, it's like make me think of Halloween. And they do through the culture part in the first 3 chapters. They do go into Celtic holidays, so such as the feast hunt, and what Celtic chariots look like and stuff like that. And they actually even have the anatomy of a Gaelic chariot. They actually go into the parts and stuff like that. So. All right. Enough about all that. Let's look at some of the monsters. Once again, this does cover its own version of how, so before we go into that, usually around the final chapters, it was weird because most of the other 2 books I reviewed, the monsters were in the middle of the section. This was near the end. So there was a brief chapter on Celtic Warrior Society, which is basically the battlecraft and how the Celts fight and their tactics and whatnot, that we were able to, that's how they differentiate how they fought against other people and what tactics they use to defend. Just don't upset the wild hunt. Yep. So we actually go into a few things about that, but I'm not going to delve into that because that is a whole big huge spoiler. So because there's many feats, they even actually added different advantages that you could incorporate into your game that would give your character bonuses to how your character fights like a Celt versus just a normal generic elf or any of the sort. I love these books because they are so informative. I'll let you put culture, and they're so easy, and they were well researched that you can put basically that culture into your own game. So, and then so let's start looking at some of the monsters because that is my biggest thing. So. Oh, and by the way, I just want to let everyone know. So, in Ireland, Samhain, which is known as the end of summer, was a Halloween holiday for Ireland. Scotland was Samhain. Goblianos which known as Goblin Night, was for Wales. They had different ones. They actually had Jespernos. They had a ton. Wales had a ton. Let's not dwell into that. And then there was Cornwall, Kellinguev, which is Kellins of Winter. Brittany had Kellin, which is still Kellins of Winter. And then Isle of Man, Oe Huni, which is Night of Samhain. I freaking love that. This definitely gives you a lot of insight on that. And that was and you know what? It's funny, I tell you guys, we covered all the Samhain. Okay. And it's funny, I told you guys we covered that in previous chapters, and it turns out, no, it was the later one. Alright, let's look at some of these monsters here. Some of the fairy beings that we get to talk about, which comes with fairy or dark fairy abilities, fairy glamour, fairy lure, and shape change, which is all also Wild Hunt. Ooh. I remember the Wild Hunt. There was even something about the Wild Hunt in many books I read, such as the Dresden Files as well. Alright, let's see if we can find a monster with, like, let's see if I can find a monster with a decent picture. Something that would be cool to see. They don't have a lot of monsters with pictures in this one. That was weird, because the other books had a little bit more. The Germania book and the Nordic book had more. They had probably just the same amount of monsters, but they had more pictures. So they got full descriptions here. It's nothing that, you know, some of these monsters, they're only putting 1 or 2 monsters on a page. I'm not finding any. Okay, well, let's go back up, because I think I found one that looks like a satyr, but it's not a satyr. Go back to the previous page. Alright. So I am going to share this one page with you guys. 2 pages. So, alright, so the Amadin Duba. So, most you'll see in one area at a time is just one. It's a medium 4 to 5 foot creature. They start off with like 3 hit dice. Their hit dice is a d6. Their saves are all mental, so that would be intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Their type is Fey. This looks like a really strong creature. Generally, they're chaotic, neutral, / evil, so they're either chaotic, neutral, or chaotic evil. They can go both ways. Dark Fool from Irish lore. This fairy magician, armed with his reed pipes, will emerge from the brew of seed by dusk to play his exciting tunes, only to enchant and drive mortal listeners to insanity and madness. Huh. You don't say. And I believe... Wow, that actually looks like a demon. It does look like a satyr, a really buff satyr. But, yep. Here you guys go. Let's see if I can find another one. And no, I'm not going to screen share while I'm scrolling, so someone can hit pause and take all this good content that you can just buy for yourself, which we will share the price on that in a minute. So I will not do that. I will share very little on this book. I do show artwork. If I haven't mentioned in previous reviews, I do show artwork just to entice people. Alright. Doesn't look like there's much of anything here, which that is kind of disappointing too. I figured we had just a little bit more. Alright, and... Oh, here. This is a map of... This is a kind of a... You can get the idea. It looks like kind of a distorted map of fairy. So if you actually want to know what the fairy realm looks like, here is a map of part of it. Either part of it or the whole realm itself. Pretty sure you could find a more enhanced version of this somewhere. Alright, let's go into the reviews. We went through each of it, discussing a small synopsis of each section of the book and what it covers. With the first 3 chapters being real-world history. The chapters 4, 5, and I believe 6 were all otherworldly history, you know, which we call otherworldly history mythology, is what I mean to say about that. And then we do get into some additional content that they do actually allow, you know, that they did create for us to use in our own games, such as classes, spells, fairy-like abilities, and how to create a fairy specifically from the Fey realm that is not in any other world other than the realm of fairy. This whole culture did actually create its own, basically its own realm separate from Earth, or known as mortal land. Of course, they all kind of did that with gods, but as I would actually have to go with the Witch King thing is, pretty much some of this culture, they weren't really deemed as gods. Just otherworldly. Gods from the Norse religion and the Germania religion was, or religion, not religion, culture, excuse me. Misslip of the words. The Nordic culture and the Germania culture, those were more or less gods as well. But, we're not going to argue all that stuff. So this does dwell within everything, and it is very, very much a wealth of information. All right, so let's go into some things here. The Norse did worship gods, right? All right, let's go into a few things. All right, so as far as the format goes as well, it's going to be a thumbs up for the format. Each one has, so as far as information goes for each section, thumbs up as well. I think I have, there's like 12 chapters, I believe. So there's like 12 chapters in this book. I think they all have 12 chapters. I think I've got them in like 3 or 4 different groups. So history, mythology, usually game content, and just some wrap up of battlecraft, battle tactics and stuff of what that culture brought to the world and how they fought. I'm definitely going to have to give each one of those a thumbs up. So we are 5 thumbs up right from the get-go. 5 thumbs up, no neutral thumbs, and no thumbs down. Okay. I am going to give it a thumbs down on illustrations a little bit. Just because I did not get... they did skimp on a few illustrations, but that is possibly because, as stated before, like one of the things I was disappointed that we didn't get was a map of what the Celtic culture covered, like what part of the world is it from. We do know it was from Wales, Britain, Ireland, Scotland, and stuff like that, but I wish it was kind of better stated. I don't feel that it was very stated very good. Because I felt like the other 2 codexes were before this one. I think that this could have been an earlier codex, so maybe I'll just move my thumbs down to a neutral thumb, so that way it doesn't affect my end result score. So, and then I wish we had more monster illustrations. We did not. We had more monster illustrations in the Nordic Codex Nordica and Codex Germania than we did this one. I wish we still had that same level, but we did not. Not sure as to what happened there. Like I said, it could have been earlier illustrations. I'll just move that to also neutral because this could have been, I believe, the earlier book, and I might be doing them out of chronological order about how they were published. So I'm not gonna bash TLG for that. That could be just my own stupidity. So because of, actually, I can find that out right now. Actually. Because they have serial numbers on them for you to... Let's see. 80302. Forgot they actually have some form of numbers to track their publication of when they came out and in between which books were they. Codex Nordica is... Okay, so Codex Celtarum is 80302. Codex Nordica is 81311. So this was a later one, and then 81321. Oh yeah, that's definitely much later. This was definitely the first one. So because of my own stupidity, yeah, definitely neutral thumbs. Neutral thumbs. All right, so let's look at the price. We said it covers history, mythology, definitely a wealth of information. Does not go wrong. So they started out strong. Started out real good, and they even got better. So I love that. All right, so without babbling on anymore, let's see here. Oh, yes, and I have the second edition, I think. I think they had a first edition, which they're sold out of, and now they got a second edition, which is, this looks like the book I have. So, yeah, they definitely definitely expanded. So, all right. So, Codex Celtarum. If you get the print, it is $29.99. If you get the digital only, it is $19.99. And if you get the print and digital, it is $34.99. I'm going to tell you this right now, for $5 more, it's worth just getting the print and digital. I will have that in the link of my description. My final rating out of this will be 9 out of 10 because I don't believe in giving a 10 out of 10, and I don't have anything really bad to say against this book. It does cover the Celtic religion, I gotta stop saying religion. It does cover the Celtic culture and mythologies, very much in wealth. Gives you a whole different race to play, or like, customize your own fairy from the Fey realm. It does give you classes based in that realm, additional classes such as spells and a few other things. So, given all that, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is definitely worth the buy. So, you could also get and I believe they still have, I did just buy another, not going to tell you guys about that because I might have people watching this that cannot see it. So, I think you could get the packet, they do have this in a bundle, and the bundle is roughly $135. So, definitely worth the buy, guys. Definitely worth checking out. Maybe you guys can dive a little bit more in that history that I did not cover, because I was not covering this page for page, just because that would be leading into spoilers, and I'm not all about that. I do not want to rob you from looking into it itself. And I think this one covers more magical items in this one than the previous versions. But that's because everything about the Celtic culture was magical. It was just an alien realm, magical, so magical to us. And this was a rich magical culture in my book. So, all right, well, we've been going on for 40 minutes, so that's all I have to say at this time. I want to say, for everyone who tuned in, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Me going through each and every synopsis that I could and breakdown very carefully as I could. So, yeah. All right. Well, for all you guys who tuned in, thank you for tuning in. For the future viewers, please tune in. If you do like what you see here, check out my other reviews, and we'll go from there. All right. So, Tabletop Junkie telling you guys to work hard, play hard, game on, everybody. Have a great and wonderful week.